Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the nathanoakley.com Flat Earth Debate forum to keep up to date with the community Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below this video. Most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are currently joined by The Plain Truth, Paul, Jose, Flatten Earth, Deanne, Chocolate Saying, Bible Literalist, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Good afternoon.
Hello, what ho?
Okay.
What's up?
Good morning.
Balls.
Hello. Wow, Jose balls. Wow, bro.
So, any
Jose.
signs of curvature?
Yes.
Go on, Jose. What have you got?
I got a new little piece of footage, so I added up to the pile of footage that I have taken in the last month. And I did a 7-mile observation in 2 different heights, that being 5-foot high observation versus 2-foot high. And in the 5-foot observation, I'm missing about maybe, 12 foot. It's a little barrier under the water. So I'm looking at a building, and the building appears to be sitting on the water, the first floor of the building. And when I go lower, the 2-foot observation, I'm almost missing the whole first floor of the building. So I'm missing a little more, the lower observation. I posted the link of the video on the Skype chat if somebody want to share it, or everybody can go to my channel and take a look.
Yeah, the problem that I have right now, just to respond to you, is the fact that you're using almost, maybe, appears. So how about you get us some concrete information in terms of how high the building is, what your exact distance is, because your almosts and maybes and appears are open to a lot of variables, Jose.
I'll answer that question. 7 miles observation, exactly 7-mile observations from me to the building. The building is 8 floors high, 8-story building. Under the building is sitting in a 12-foot little wall, a container for the water not to rush in the little island. So the building is sitting in a 12-foot, and it's an 8-story building, and I'm looking at it from 7 miles
All right,
away.
so 8
and
stories.
It was low tide.
All right, so 8 stories. Does that mean it's 80 feet high?
I'm not worrying about how high it is. I'm worrying about how much am I missing in the bottom.
Well, how are you going to know how much you're missing if you don't know how high it is, bro?
Because I can see it in the footage that I'm missing something in the bottom just by looking at the footage.
And so you're saying that there's a barrier that blocks the bottom 12 feet of the building? So you're saying that you can't see 12 feet of the bottom building because of a physical barrier that was put up by a man? I'm just asking for details.
Yeah. If I'm looking from really close, I can see this 12-foot wall, and then above that 12-foot wall is the ground, and the building is sitting on that ground.
Okay.
Cool.
The coordinates from the observer and the building are in the description box on the video. So if somebody want to pull it off on the Google Maps, whatever, you can see the 3D view on what I'm missing in the footage. and I can see clearly just the eight windows, the 8 stories of the building, just sitting on the horizon level water right there. And then when I go lower, I'm gonna see the building sitting on the water, but I only see seven windows of that building instead of eight.
Right. Yeah. I guess I could compare what I've shot over the Chesapeake Bay because that's roughly 6 miles, and I've got a 3-story building
Or
that
roughly,
is.
kind of, sort of, maybe, sort of.
Yeah. It's 5.74. Okay, 5.74. So when I've observed this building at different days and at different seasons, I can see the ground that the building is on, and then on different days I can't see the ground.
I
So
decided to go in the low tide just in case, but
yeah,
next
I've
time
done
I
it.
go in the
Yeah,
high tide.
yeah, I've done it. I've done it from the water level 4 inches above the water, and then I've gone up 5 foot, and then I've gone up 10 foot. But the reason why I can't see the bottom of the building that I'm looking at is because of the atmosphere.
I made a similar observation at Myrtle Beach. It looks very similar to your video, Jose, and atmospheric conditions can account for that. Similar observation myself.
Yeah, this is the first time I went, and it was a low tide. So I'm gonna revisit it because it's the closest spot that is for me right now. It's about maybe 20-25 minutes. So it's gonna be a lot easier for me to go and repeat it many times and compare.
So, would you not say this is comparable to, say, putting a book at the end of a hall and then lowering your position to see it vanish from the bottom up? Wouldn't this be an absolutely identical replication of that in the small scale?
Mm-hmm.
You could see it that way. Yeah, making sure that the floor is 100% straight on level. Yeah, it's a representation.
So, given that, I'm going to say that, say the sports hall floor, that the ping pong ball or whatever, that I did my observation of the angle of attack, lowering the camera to make something disappear bottom first, is over a surface that's equally as flat as these waves. I'm going to probably say slightly more flat, but, people are quite fussy about it not being perfectly flat. Nevertheless, if you can replicate this in the small scale on a basically flat surface, i.e. not curved, even if it's slightly uneven, wouldn't you agree that that's a reasonable explanation for it that in no way involves Earth curvature?
It's an alternate explanation. Yes,
Sorry, say that again.
it is an alternate explanation. Yes, alternative explanation. I don't know the word.
Also a bit better developed.
I have a question for Jose. So you believe that water can curve, right?
No, I don't believe nothing.
So you think or you're willing to entertain the idea that water can curve, right?
Continue.
So if that's the case, can you give us the exact number in a huge standing body of water? What's the distance where the curvature starts to occur?
I don't understand that question. I just upload videos on YouTube, bro. I'm a Puerto Rican with nothing. I cannot give you any numbers. I'm not a mathematician.
His basic
like you have nothing, loser.
his basic question is, Jose, where's the curve?
Oh, it's everywhere, all around you. Look at the observations that I have made and others have made.
But we've just accounted and we've just questioned your observation, and that may not account for it. So back to square one.
Oh, I'll tell you what the curve is. Go to my little tensor value footage and you can see the curve in the bridge.
It's really too bad that you didn't understand Dane's question, because it's a good question and it's something that science should have answered already. But apparently
I'm
you
not
guys
science.
don't
I'm
have any
Jose, bro.
answers.
I'm a Puerto Rican dude. I'm not science.
But you believe in it. Why are you
I
believing
don't
stuff
believe in
that hasn't
nothing.
been answered?
I believe in,
Scary,
in what
dude.
I see, what I can test and I can see by with my eyes. That's what I believe. And
So
I
why you
see
keep
the
saying you
curve, so
count?
I
Why
guess
you keep saying you found curvature?
because I seen it on my footage, the footage I have taken. That's
Or
why
you
I
see
believe it.
obstruction and you call it curvature?
And I see curve in the little tensor value. I seen it, the curve.
Oh, okay. And that's Earth curve to you.
Yeah.
The little
Or you
tensor
believe
spy
that's Earth curve,
footage,
right?
the little tensor spy footage that you showed, Jose, had what you called curve in a distance that a little boat covered in the space of about 30-40 seconds. And the top line of the curve was a bridge. So if you're to assert that that's the bit of curvature, then surely you'd be able to measure it on the bridge on top that in your own footage looked flat. It's just the bit underneath where the water and the perspective takes place, i.e. the ground rises up towards the horizon. That's where you're asserting the curve takes place. But literally directly above it, you've got a causeway with traffic on it that's not curving.
Oh, in the big scale, yes, because when you're looking at a screen, you're looking at the bridge. It's a 7 miles. You see it compressed in a 1 foot little narrow band in your TV. You see 1 foot and you see the curve. But if you're above the bridge, how are you going to measure 7 miles with a 7 miles measuring tape or 7 miles along level, water level? You're not. You're going to have a 6 foot water level and you're not going to measure the curve. You got to see it compressed, looking ahead, looking forward to it.
Sure, but you're not seeing 7 miles. That's a misrepresentation of what you're seeing. That's why I said at the beginning that the section that you're claiming the curve is in, a little boat covered in about 30 seconds. Now, unless you're asserting that in your little tiny frame at maximum zoom, that little tiny boat can cover the distance of 7 miles in 30 seconds, then fine. I disagree and say you're showing the most extreme part of perspective, and it's an illusion, an optical illusion that makes the bottom section where the water is look like it's curving. Where it's disproven is by the 10 car lengths of bridge which is above that so-called curve that's perfectly flat.
Yeah, but it's not just the bottom part. The top part is also shows the curve in the in
with
the bridge
with the
past
cars
the
on.
half part.
With the cars on, that bit shows the curve too, because there's about 10 car lengths. You can see a couple of lorries, maybe half a dozen cars. So you're saying that that's where the curve is. If that's the case, and you can see curve over a stretch of road that's 10 car lengths long, then I want you to go and measure it.
No, you don't understand scale, Nathan.
Yeah,
From what I'm looking at, it's not 10 cars length. It's miles long.
No, Jose, the frame of your image didn't have 7 miles in it. That would be if you were backed out and you had the full frame of what you could see without any zoom.
The
When you
frame
zoom
I had
in,
maybe had
hold
4
on,
miles,
Jose, my
four-
bad.
four
I
and a
tried
half
not to
miles.
interrupt you. So when you zoom in, you might be zooming along a 7 mile stretch, but what you have in the frame is definitely not 7 miles. As I've just said about 3 times, you've actually got about 10 car lengths in frame. And a boat can cover what's in frame in about 30 seconds, telling me it's a very short distance that you're claiming has got this curve in it. Also, if there's curve in 10 car lengths worth of road, then you can be damn sure you could measure that.
So that's the way you interpret it. What I see in the shot I got when it's zooming, and I'm not seeing 7 miles, I'm seeing about 4 miles probably, because I'm seeing about a mile before the half section of the bridge, and then past that is another 3 miles, 3.5 miles that you're not accounting for. And
Oh, so we're
and you
seeing
can
the
see curve
curve on 3.5 miles. How much should we see over the course of 3.5 miles, Jose?
That's a
Not
cumulative
much.
drop. That's how the way you call it. In the first 3 miles, you're not going to see the curve. When you when it's cumulative, you're going to see it past the 3 miles. Yeah.
No, we're just seeing a stretch with a boat in it, and the boat covers a certain distance, Jose. You keep seeming to claim your mathematical construct of cumulative drop. For a man who doesn't like to go to the maths, you use a lot of mathematical bollocks to explain your nonsense. The reality is,
Okay,
Jose,
so-
I hadn't finished. No need to get triggered, my son. So, the reality is the frame of your shot hasn't got 7 miles in it, Jose. It's got a very short distance. It's got what seems like curve in it, but typically people who misrepresent these observations have a bit more forethought, unlike yourself, about how to misrepresent them best. You haven't, and you've presented a very short distance with a boat with what looks like curve, and a boat covering where that curve is in a very short period of time, telling me it's only a short distance in your frame. as much as you want to claim it's a huge distance, and that we should see a cumulative drop at the very extremes of your zoom lens. Now, we all know on the panel, the flat earthers on here, that that's just a hijacking of perspective. Things do rise up to the midpoint of your vision. That's perspective. Well, ignored entirely in the mathematics you're claiming give you a cumulative drop. I say no, Jose. You get a linear relationship, and occasionally atmospherics can change that linear arrangement of things going up towards the midpoint into what seems like a curve over the space of 10 car lengths.
Okay, the footage is there. Everybody go see it if it's a 10 cars lane or if it's a mile stretch.
Can you do me a favor,
I've actually
Jose?
got the video up.
Jose, can you do me a favor?
Hold on, let's have it. You've got it, Paul. I'm presenting you. If you can play it, brilliant.
I've got it up. I mean, the bridge. I was just noticing when I was looking at it. I don't know if you see my cursor, but it looks like it's it's kind of convex through here.
I was just about to
goes,
exactly that. So Jose,
Yeah.
this has got 7 miles in it, right, Jose?
Yes.
Right, concave Earth, then, my friend. Looks like it's concave to me.
No.
What do you mean, no?
Oh.
Let's just run my mouse along it for the audience's benefit. Curve starts here. It's not going up and down. It's going down and up. So this is looking like a concave Earth, Jose. It goes down and then up again. Very weird indeed.
Folding into the horizon.
Of course,
Okay,
below
now
that
there
level, it goes from the bottom to up. Perfectly in line with what you'd expect in perspective. Now, this is the shot I'm talking about right now. We've got a boat. So I'm pretty certain that between here and there, where you're asserting the curve occurs, is about 10 car lengths, as demonstrated by the 10 car lengths on top of the bridge. So if this section from here to here has got a curve in it, I would guarantee you could measure that curve. You could probably stick a spirit level on it and see it was curved. It's just an optical effect. This is just perspective.
From where the boat is standing to that middle bar is about 1 mile, and from the bar to the end of the bridge is another 3 miles. So it's not 10
Oh, wow.
cars
So
length,
in
unless the
total,
cars are
Jose,
freaking
we've
half
got
a mile
4
each
miles.
long each.
So what you're saying is, Jose, this curve that we see is about, what, 10 inches? Imperceivable. But, yeah, it's a massive curve. So what is it? Is this 10 inches of curve or considerably more? Because from where I'm standing, we've got this huge distance from the road to the water up here in the near foreground. I know it sounds like I'm describing perspective, but we're definitely not. We're talking Earth curve. So ignore all of what you know about how small things get smaller and big things stay large in the foreground. Yeah, ignore all of that, and let's just assert that this line we see that looks like it's curving, that's Earth curve over the space of 4 miles. Right, Jose? This sounds idiotic.
Okay, now let's go to this part, the first part of the bridge where you say it's concave, that is appears to go down.
No. Paul,
Okay,
just
go
stick
ahead.
with this. Jose, we've got a 4-mile stretch showing what looks like enormous amounts of curve. Huge curve. I mean, you're not going to tell me that this is 10 inches of curve, right? This is a massive curve, isn't it? Look how curvy it is. Right, Jose? Even though it's only about 4 miles.
Now you're saying it's curved, right? It's curved, yeah, indeed.
No, it's blatantly not curved. All of these cars are moving in line with perspective, getting smaller as they get further away from you. But there's not very many of them. And they look, to me, like they're just following the lines of perspective.
Yeah, now look at the end of the bridge, how the ramp, it appears to ramp up all the way at the end. When you zoom it out a little bit,
Oh, I
you want a little more
see.
zoom in, you can see
I've got you,
the
Jose.
roughly measure.
Answer me this then. Why is it that the tree line comes down? If this is... Paul, can you leave the picture up? So, Jose, if we've got a curve going up and away from us, why does the tree line come down?
We're talking about the end of that shot.
Yeah. The tree line comes down, doesn't it? To the midpoint. Strangely enough, in perfect line with what I would expect perspective to do in every photo ever taken, ever. But let's just forget about perspective for a second and say we're looking at Earth curve, because this bit here looks a bit curvy. I want to know why the top is coming down as opposed to curving up.
There's more people more expert on the giving that explanation. Refer to Soundly and he'll explain it all. Thank you.
He'll explain why the tree line's coming down, but the bottom section is coming up. So we've got an upward curve in the bottom half of the frame. Jose, why are you talking over me? What's your malfunction? Yeah? Your bloody picture doesn't prove Earth curve, Jose. It ignores perspective to make that assertion. Everything in this picture is just following the lines of perspective. That's all it's doing. It's not even a very long distance. It's only 4 miles. Imperceivable amounts of curve is what we should see. Yet we've got blatantly obvious effects of perspective. And you're saying, oh, pictured curve. No.
Jose, can
7
you
miles.
do me a favor? And I posted 4 pictures before in the back chat, whatever, from a plane. One of them is from about 10,000 feet. So you would think if you're seeing all this actual curvature down here from the ground, you would think you would see that from 10,000 feet up, right? So could you go to that picture and tell me where you see that? You know where I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about left to right curve, right?
I'm talking about curves, not left to right, just curves. Please tell me where you see that at 10,000 feet.
I don't know. I'm not high of 10,000 feet. I'm a couple feet off the ground, and I can see the curve in the little pencil value here.
All right, the same way you like to present observations, I'm giving you a picture that I took personally from a plane. So could you look at that picture and tell me where you see curvature?
I got to do a couple tweaks in here. I'm gonna look it up now.
Okay, but while we've still got this picture on screen, thanks to Paul, what I want to know, Jose, is, again, this was my original question. If the water is rising up because it's ball-shaped, yeah? If this is rising up, why aren't the trees also rising up? The whole thing must be rising up, right? So the trees that are here, because obviously we don't take into account perspective, these would be higher then, wouldn't they? They're raising up on this sagittar as we look towards the bulge. Because obviously when you took this picture, you were leaning back on your ankles, weren't you? Looking down at the horizon. That's what we always do, of course. So therefore, all of it should raise up in line with the ball Earth that you're claiming this is. If this is rising up, so are these trees. But they're not. They're falling towards the horizon. Not rising up on a sphere, but going down towards perspective lines.
What is this trauma leaning back in my ankles? Are you looking at cartoon crayon drawings of little kids with big balls and a big kid standing on the ball? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that's what your mathematics dictates you must do in order to create a bulge that rises up between you and the target. You see, it's another one of those ball Earth contradictions. Oh, my bad. I didn't realise you were in the middle of explaining it to me, Jose. So, it's another one of those ball Earth contradictions. According to ball Earth rhetoric, we are always on the top of the ball. Doesn't matter where you go on the ball, you are at the top point. However, whenever you look at anything in the distance, actually, the top of the ball is the midpoint that's causing the obstruction. So you're no longer the top, you're leaning back on your ankles, looking down towards the top of the ball, which causes the obstruction. You have a sagittar. So you are, in effect, leaning back on your ankles, no longer the top of the centre of gravity. Leaning back so that you can create a bulge between you and your target. Just double speak so that they can create this effect of perspective and call it curve. Doesn't matter that you're supposed to be on the top. No, for this photo, you're leaning back on your ankles.
Okay, I'm gonna answer. Nathan, come on, stop negating the scale. Stop using the scale negator like Travis used to say. Stop looking at the explanations that are not to scale and thinking that's the real life. Come on, snap out of it.
What are you talking about? I've got a picture on screen.
Sounds like projection.
Yeah, but what you're explaining me is one of these not to scale explanations on a graphic how it should look. And you're taking it as a gossip.
Oh, I see. So what you're saying, Jose, is when a total bullshit model says I'm leaning back on my heels to take this picture, I should ignore that shit, because it's shit. because we don't live on a model. So the fact that the model says I'm tipping back on my heels doesn't mean I am. Yeah, you know what, Jose? I totally agree with you. Just because a sphere model says I have to tip back on my ankles to take this picture doesn't mean I am. Just because a sphere model says I'm always pointing my camera down doesn't mean I am.
Just because the sphere model shows you and not to scale so people can understand what's going on, can understand what's going on.
What? So they understand that they're tipping back on their heels because the model says so, or they don't understand that? I'm a bit confused now, Jose. Are we tipping back on our heels because your model says we are?
No, those graphics are not to scale, none of them.
But that's what you're saying. You're saying this is a bulge rising up between you and your target. In order for that to be the case, you would need to be tipping back on your ankles, creating a sagittar with the bulge ahead of you between you and your target. That's what you are doing when you say there's a bulge at the end of your camera lens, Jose. I know you don't understand what you're saying when you make the assertions that you do. Fortunately, I'm here, so I can point out that you're tipping back on your heels when you make the assertion that it's rising up, right? So you're not on the top of the ball. The top of the ball is causing an obstruction. So you're leaning back, further back around the ball, looking at the top of it. Okay?
Yeah, I never say bulge or leaning. All I say is
Yeah, you did. So let's not double speak our way around this shit, Jose. You're going to piss me off real fast. You're saying this is curving. Well, in order for it to be curving, it's rising up from your position to create a bulge. That's what it's doing. That's what you're asserting. The fact you don't understand what you're asserting doesn't concern me. It's useful for me to point out what you're doing when you say this is curving. You're tipping back on your ankles with a bulge rising up in front of you, Jose. That's what you're saying. You don't have to like it. It's just nonsense. Your model gives you the idea you're doing that. It's still nonsense. And by your own definition, the model doesn't mean you're tipping back on your ankles. But that's what you're saying.
Yeah, when you're zooming in a long, straight stretch, miles long, straight road, you're going to see the curve like here. You zoom in and behold the curve.
Yeah, so you're leaning back on your ankles and the bulge is raising up between you and your target. Like I've just said 3 times. So we are leaning back on our ankles then.
No, that's what you're saying. I just say zoom in a straight, miles-long stretch of road and get the curve.
Yeah, my bad. I've completely hijacked your point, Chocolate.
Did you look at my picture yet, Jose?
Yeah, I saw him.
Yeah, where's the curvature?
I don't know. Where's the curvature? You answered your own question.
I don't know. You tell me.
Jose, you have to look at if there's curvature to left and to the right. Sphere curves in all directions, man.
Yeah, you're going to see a left to right curve in a couple 100 feet. Okay, thank you.
But there is none.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, Jose, you really fell hook, line, and sinker for the straight ball troll tactics, huh? That's horrible.
All right,
you're not gonna see curvature left or right, but we're on a ball,
in a
right?
couple 100 feet.
All around?
Yeah, no,
right.
you're
Yeah,
not.
okay,
in a
whatever,
couple 100
bro.
feet, no, you know.
Whatever. You sound ridiculous, my dude. Sorry, you're ridiculous.
Jose, you said that you didn't understand my previous question, so I'll go with another question. I'll take you to the Panama Canal. Do you know where it is?
I haven't been there. I haven't done that observation. I cannot talk about it.
I didn't ask you, have you been there? I asked you, do you know where it is?
Yeah, I take others' observations as gossip. I like my own.
I didn't ask
But
you
go
about
ahead. Yeah, talk to me.
It's just 80 kilometers long. So it's transferring boats from one ocean to another ocean. And it has these big enclosed pools that are filling up with water to rise the boats and then to lower the boats over the stretch of 80 kilometers. So if the Earth is a sphere, why did they build that in the first place? They should have just dig the channel through and that's it.
Yeah, if you're talking about this, yeah, let me see your footage with the blueprints and all the explanation of how it should or should not work, and then I'll consider it.
Have you seen videos of it?
Have you taken the videos? I'll look at them.
So I need to present you with my personal videos to believe that there is such a thing in the world.
No, not necessarily, but your own video, so I can take a look as you have experienced this by yourself. Have you seen it by yourself? And you're gonna present something that you have done, so I can consider it and then think about it.
All right. I'll consider it. Second question about it as well.
Oh, wasn't that fun?
I like to make a comment to Jose. Jose, it's you're making statements saying, "Well, I'm just a Puerto Rican making pictures and observations." But the one thing Nathan is trying to help you to see is you got to understand what's happening, and I think that's the one thing you kind of obfuscate that point, and you need to really address that and try to understand it. Just to kind of push it aside, oh, this is observational curvature, but you're not really understanding what's going on. That actually is weakening your position. So I think you need to do a little bit more digging and a little bit more understanding instead of just obfuscating everything that Nathan's saying.
So what you want me to do is at least push the globe and show all the numbers and how it works 100% in a sphere when all I want to do is unbiased observations, and I can maybe be a little biased on my representation, on my interpretation, but I just want to present the footage and I'll keep it dumbed down as I present the footage and we analyze it together. You know, that's what I want to do. I don't want to push an agenda of a globe or a flat earth. I just take observations and work around it a little bit and keep it dumbed down for everybody to understand.
Yeah, but then you'll turn right around and say that, oh, that's curvature. And then Nathan's sitting here showing you that that's perspective or refraction or who knows what, but you just obfuscate that.
That's good because then the flat earth got a good explanation and the globe, me representing the globe in this case, I don't got a good explanation. I just say it's curved and period. Those who want to dissemble themselves and figure it out, then they got a better flat earth explanation than a globe. Is that good for you? I think it is.
Well, just acknowledge that what Nathan's saying is correct, and I think that some of that.
Hey, Lenny,
tension
hold on 1 second.
Zaddy!
Oh, got some trolls coming our way. Fun. Yes, if you do join, try to be constructive.
All right, I'll stay on mute now. I'll keep listening.
That's okay. I mean, I was just saying, just try to just then don't obfuscate what Nathan is saying and say, okay, that's a good point, and you're right. That could be very true. Do that. I don't know. I always hear you saying you do that. Come back with the same observation and the same explanation can account for everything you bring to us, but you don't admit that there's any other options to that potentially.
So Jose, you've been out taking your own footage, making observations. Did you saw with your own eyes water curving somewhere?
That's a non sequitur. I don't know what you refer to. That's a bullshit water bending. I don't know analogy.
What?
Really? You've got Tensor Bio showing what you claim to be curving water, but now you're saying it's a non sequitur. Okay, fine.
But it's good that I'm not stupid.
Yeah, I'm not into the Dale Beyond the Imaginary Curve clan about the water bending bullshit. I just do real observations, and the childish water bending comment, I just leave it out of the content.
Oh my god.
Jose, your curvature means that water bends.
Oh my god.
If you're not smart enough to see that, if you're not smart enough to see that, bro.
Yeah, good.
Wait, Jose, is the pictures of Earth from space that you believe in, or is the water curved?
That I believe in? Yeah.
Yeah. Huh? The water's curved, right?
Yeah. So everything.
Oh, but you just said the water doesn't curve.
Shout out for the super chat I can't, so many names that I just cannot pronounce. But thank you very much indeed for the super chat. I really appreciate
Jose,
it.
how many times on this show have you said, I believe that we live on a ball? Since you
I
became
did
a
say
Glober.
many times. I did say many times
Yeah,
in the
so
beginning.
I'm not
when I went to
I'm
the
not
ball.
misquoting you then, am I?
No, you say about something about pictures from space. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you believe you live on a ball. So
Yeah, but
obviously
I haven't
you
spoken
believe.
about pictures from space, and I will not.
Yeah, well, you believe you live on a ball, and we're given pictures of
Yeah,
that
that's weak.
ball from
That's
space.
weak. Trying to strum at me with pictures of space. Yeah,
Sorry,
very
guys,
weak.
we've got a new guest.
I'm not gonna.
Oh yeah.
Bear with me a second,
Oh
guys.
yeah. Okay.
Bear with me.
I'm not trying to
guys,
trap
guys,
you. I'm
hello,
just trying
hold
to.
on.
I'm just trying to show you how ridiculous you sound when in one sentence you say, "Oh, I don't believe water doesn't bend. That's crazy." Yeah. But
Sorry.
then another picture you say, "Oh, that's curvature at 4 miles." You sound
Sorry,
stupid.
bear with me a
Sorry.
second, Chocolate. Shout out to CFC Bear for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed for your support. And we've also got a new guest who is called, I don't know, Benj. How you doing, Benj? Hello.
So yeah, Jose's just a drama queen and likes the attention. That's why he's here.
What?
So far, since Jose's been on here, he's attacked. Is it Diane? Diane? Oh, just mispronounce your name. And he's obfuscated.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. He's obfuscated curvature in his own video and obfuscated that there's no water doesn't curve. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about Jose.
Since I've been here, I just try to present a little bit of footage that I catch and try to analyze it together, and that's all I do. At least I do some observations. Many of you all have is words, rhetoric, and research on the internet. Don't even go out to do your own observations. So boom.
I made my own observation.
Wow, that's funny. I took a picture from a plane at 10,000 feet. Did you say anything about that? No, right?
Woohoo!
We're just going to ignore that, right? You're going to ignore that? So we're supposed to sit here and bow down to your observations where you want to believe you see curvature? That's what we should do?
You believe what you want to believe, bro. Let me be.
Yeah, I don't want to believe shit. I'm looking for proof. I'm looking for facts.
You believe the earth is flat, bro.
I believe I don't live on a fucking ball, bro.
No swearing.
You believe in upside down people?
Don't get
believe in upside down
on.
people. You know what? I'm going to stop because you believe what you want to believe, bro. And are you trust?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay on mute because I'm not supporting nothing here.
So Jose, if what curving, what is producing the curve in the images?
I don't know what you just say.
If water is not curving, it's not bending, what is producing the curvature in your videos?
I already said I'm not going to address that childish water bending comment of yours.
So curve over large bodies of water, what is it? Bending or it stays on an angle?
Somebody else want to chime in the childish water bending tag?
You really still don't get what.
Wait. I'm sorry, Dan. I'm sorry, but wait, Jose, you think water bending is childish? That's what you're saying right now?
Just trolling.
Well, maybe you should just fall back on straight is curved.
That's what he's saying.
Straight is curved, up is down, black is white. I mean, this is the type of people that we're talking to right now. This is fucking out of control.
Okay, I didn't know that the small question kill you. Sorry,
man. Nathan. Sorry about that.
Small question killed you, Jose.
All right, that was the curvature. Any sign? What's the next housekeeping question? Any scientific proof of gravity? I say no. I'm not a scientist. I got nothing.
You should be a scientist, Jose. You should be.
Nah, Jose just does the field work. And he does pretty good. It's just that his conclusions are somewhat simple. But hey, people have to do the field work.
Yes, no scientific evidence of gravity. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core in the center of the presupposed spherical Earth? I say no, just crayons and drawings. 8 miles, a little under 8 miles is as far as we have dug. So I say no.
All right.
I like how you're doing self housekeeping right now. It's cute.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Nathan's allowed him to start hosting his show.
You've got a request from Gleam who says check out Action Labs video where they show light being bent. I think that was directed specifically at Jose.
I think cool videos. I think it was Karen B. She did something with a fish tank or something that I think Riley presented to me when I showed the little tensors value. So thank you. Interesting. I like looking at these videos with alternative explanations.
He's way ahead of you, so he says at 9:50 on the video, and then 10:04 shows clear curvature better than Karen B's. So there we go. What was the title of the video again, Gleam? And I'll read it out.
It's funny that video showed curvature over about 3 feet, wasn't it? Something like that. Maybe 2 feet.
So if it shows curve in 30 feet, how much curve is going to show in 7 miles? It's going to be gigantic. It's just hit your ass again in 7 miles if it shows curvature in 30 feet. So that scale doesn't work at all.
It's called, where's it gone? Crazy material that you can make at home that actually bends light. There you go.
Where is the link to this?
There isn't a link. It's just I can't remember what labs it's called now. Something labs. Mad Labs or something.
Uh-huh.
Just Google search it. I'm sure you'll find it.
I want to give a shout out to Gleam because he's killing it. He's always dropping all types of info in the chat. Just be killing these Globers with knowledge. So I want to give a big shout out to Gleam.
Nathan, is it the Action Lab?
Yeah, Action Lab.
Yeah, I found it.
I think it's funny how hiding behind scale is always an issue, and I hear that so much. It's too big of a scale. We can't measure it. I think that's I don't know, just crazy.
That's how they get you.
Yeah.
That's how they get you. Tell you it's too big, scale's too big. Oh, your senses, don't pay attention to those. Your senses are always lying to you. Why would you ever pay attention to those? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if it's too big, give us the big numbers. We can handle them.
Well, I think the trick is that they say you can see curve, but if you shouldn't, then you can't because it's too big.
Yeah.
So first they claim, yeah, you can see it, but then if you go with but is that technically possible? And you prove that you actually understand this, then they bypass it by, yeah, but you're too small. It's too big to actually see, even though they claimed that it is visible before.
I actually thought about this morning.
Jedi mind trick.
So it goes like this. If a ball, then curve, then flat. Right?
Yeah, sorry, hi guys, I rejoined, but I was thinking about this very thing this morning. The Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying, he had a beach ball or something. He's like, you can't see the curve 2 millimeters from this ball. And I was thinking, if you got to scale it down. If we're really small, we're not 2 millimeters, because he's talking about 120,000 feet. We're like a little pinprick. And so if the Earth is so big, the amount of curvature it should be able to be seen with certain distances because of how small we are. Because proportional to our size, the Earth is massive, so the curvature is also going to be massive to account for that huge sphere. And also, there are landmarks, there's mountains, there's objects that will have various heights and distances that can allow us to compare the supposed curvature that should based on the mathematics. Because what he did was use a ball that's smooth, but our Earth is nothing like that. So you're going to have landmarks and things like that. That's just something I thought of.
And I still think, I know they obfuscate this point, but if you see curvature going on the y-axis, you should see it on the x-axis. And I'm thinking, because if it's a sphere, it's not a cylinder, you know? And I know they obfuscate that point, but it's you know, even at a higher altitude, you can see more, so there should be more evidence of left to right curvature, but there's not. So I don't know. They obfuscate that point.
Yeah, it's another Glober talking point. That's how I see it. Just the same thing with the horizon, you know, lowers down. They're just talking points that they have to throw out to try to throw a wrench in the monkey works, you know. It's ridiculous.
So it's just with any size of a sphere, the geometrical law of the human vision is that no matter how big it is, if you start raising your elevation, it will always drop and display more curvature. Size doesn't matter.
Yeah, they modeled that, haven't they? Somebody showed a model.
They
of
moved the bar.
comparison.
They moved the bar. Like, no, oh, you don't see curvature at this height? Well, you actually have to go higher to see it. So they constantly move it.
But yeah, what you said was correct. If it's a ball, it's a ball. If you raise an altitude, you should see it becoming ever more bally as you go higher.
Right.
Although what they do is then they bring in refraction and say, well, we don't really know what it's a standard refraction, but the refraction might change. So if it does look flat, that's just refraction. Like no matter what, it has to be like the CGI. It has to be.
Because it has to be.
Yeah, they had to Photoshop it. Otherwise, it would be too confusing for you to understand that it's a ball.
I'm dropping a picture in the chat on Skype. They don't get that. They see all the visual phenomena because the point is that they are looking over a flat surface. If you're looking on a bow, you won't be able to see it after a certain distance. You need to raise your elevation to see optical phenomena on a bow. Then you can see some amount of it, but in the far reaches of the apparent horizon. But then on a flat surface, just you can see them forever till you get to an endpoint of perspective, the vanishing point.
It's funny when you take that observation over the water with your moonlight or sunlight, you can actually see proof within the picture for both, because the waves, you know, they're curved, so it creates a shadow. But then you see, because the overall landscape is flat, you get a straight shot to the horizon. So in the same shot, you get both evidences in the same photo. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but when you observe it over, let's say, a big lake that's really in a really calm day, and it's like a mirror, like when it's like really smooth on top.
I mean, you notice how, like, I post this picture and there's no, he doesn't want to address it. There's no curvature seen in his picture. But yet, where he tells us to refer to Soundly, who shows us ridiculous curvature at 17 miles or some shit.
And Chocolate, he asked you about left and right, you remember?
Yeah. So I can see buildings falling over the curvature in front of me, but nothing bending in side to side. Yeah, okay. That's not how a ball works, guys.
Yeah, I have a question about compression. I've seen footage where from a very far distance, like buildings will squash together. If I understand this the way I understand it, that seems to point to evidence that has to be on a flat surface, because the only way something could compress like that is because the angle is getting squashed on a flat surface. Like if there's a horizon, it would just, like, I don't know. It to me, it doesn't seem like it could compress that way on a ball, but maybe I'm misunderstanding.
I doubt that the actual ballers, the ones that are making the model and everything, even know how real optics and perspective would actually work on an actual physical ball. I don't think they even got to that point. Or when they did, they just discarded it outright because it was so blatantly obvious that the world is not like that. So they chose to just omit perspective entirely and keep it orthographic.
Shout out to Paul Hall for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed, Paul.
And that reminds me, I don't know if you guys saw a recent video by Jaren, quotes that prove they lied to us. It's like a 3-hour long video.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't even think I'm done with it. But the thing that I'm kind of takeaway I got from it is that there's, there's a lot of these smart scientists, from the last several hundred years. They realize that this is very nuanced, and there's a lot of different ways you can interpret it. There's a lot of different ways to model things and still, theoretically be correct. But it's almost like modern science has kind of hijacked it and created a narrative to only one possibility, and they will refuse to accept any other possibility.
Well,
when you built your house of cards, and one thing can come in and shatter that house of cards. I remember talking to a philosophy professor that I knew from the church I go to, and he was saying, well, there's always anomalies in science. But I told him, I was like, well, those anomalies could be the things that's the linchpin to your understanding, so focus on the anomalies, because those anomalies could undermine everything that you think about. And I think they don't want to do that. And I think, you build your whole worldview, you build your whole career on looking at things a certain way, but this one thing can come in and completely undermine the whole house of cards you build. It's pretty, I think it's hard for people to do, and we've talked about this in here before. I mean, like for me to embrace the flat earth, I had to relook at all my sci-fi I loved all my life, so I had to give all that up. And sometimes, that's minor in the grand scheme of things, but imagine that when it's your career or your life or your livelihood or, your speaking engagements. I mean, I've lost friends and family over my views, I mean, what price are you willing to pay? And a lot of people aren't willing to pay the price for truth, or pay the price for seeking in something that may counteract everything you think.
Guys, do you think that they let flat Earth into the public for a reason? Like they foreseen that in time they will not be able to hide it, so they decided to let it go out gently until it becomes common knowledge?
It's difficult to tell. I think that the controllers were very divided over it.
Fortunately, that is going to be a question for the after show, because I'm going to bid farewell to the live audience on that note. So if you want to find out the answer from the rest of the panel, you need to tune in, or stay tuned if you are watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980. So there will be an after show. But in the meantime, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this live debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in, super chatting, and hopefully sharing this debate. As I say, if you want to keep up to date with the community Flat Earth debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth debate forum there. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Can't recall, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, they put a case in the New York court about 9/11, and it went through court, and now it's been subject to starting, the court things. If Anthony's here, he can probably explain it all, but it's like the 10,000 engineers in the huge paper that they've done about controlled demolition and stuff, and now it's officially in court to be reviewed.
I've not heard anything about that specifically.
And I think they're restarting
In
the
which
investigation based on that.
Sorry to interrupt. We've
In
got a new
which
guest. Can I just say hello to Thomas? How you doing, Thomas?
Hello, Nathan.
Good to have you.
Hello, hello. Yeah, thank you. This is like quite scary for me to join
Don't be
this
scared.
panel. No, I know. But when you're new to something, it's always like that.
Yeah, only Nathan's the bulldog in the
Yeah, I
group.
know. I heard
Thomas,
him
weren't you here yesterday?
Was it here? I was. Maybe.
Yeah, you
Yeah, I
were.
was invited.
You
Yeah.
were on yesterday, bro. I thought you
Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
Exactly. I got an invitation and I just joined and I had fucking no clue. Oh, sorry for the.
No, we're not live now.
But okay. I didn't know where I was. I just joined. But it's
You're on
okay.
a flat plane.
What?
You're on a flat plane.
Of course. Of course. What else?
And now you're on the best show.
Yeah. And as I was talking about yesterday, the heliocentric model is impossible in this version that they tell us, because the moon should set upside down relative to when it rises. And Cinder was supposed to go out and look at the moon yesterday. Yeah, I haven't seen anything about him since then. But he said, yeah, if it doesn't set upside down, maybe I have to reevaluate. What?
Zinder was here today, but he didn't mention any of that you told him yesterday.
Okay. Oh, that's funny.
And it didn't
because
mention my experiment, the temperature as well.
No. Okay. Maybe he needs more time.
I was going to make a comment back to what we were talking about just a minute ago. You're talking about the 9/11 thing, but there's something that is happening. Like I said, one of the other things I've been focusing on is vaccines. And there's a organization that's filed lawsuits against Health Department, Health and Human Services, and I think FDA, I think it was the other one, showing that there's been no safety studies done over the last 30 years since the Vaccine Injury Act was imposed. And they won the court case. What's that?
30 years.
Yeah, the Vaccine Injury Act was enacted in 1986, and there were supposed to be studies done and reports done to Congress for the last 30 years to show how the efficacy and the safety of vaccines is supposed to be done. Well, they won a court case showing that the Department of Health and Human Services has not done their job. So, and obviously, I don't know where anybody stands on this thing, but that's an example to me, is people are beginning to wake up and question, and then we're going after. People are going after the government and going after, like we're going after flat Earth, going after the heliocentric model. It's happening more and more and more, and I think there's an overall awakening that the system is broken. We need to stop. This needs to stop. I think that's kind of what's happening. I see as overall. I mean, 9/11 was actually my wake up call when I really started looking at it. That shattered a lot of my preconceived notions when I looked at it originally. And that was the beginning of the linchpin to begin to cause me to question everything from there on out. If you'd have talked to me 6 years ago, I probably would have been a globalist, vaccine injector. 9/11 was done by terrorists, and that's what I would have probably been. But now, 5 years later, I'm definitely not on that side at all. So I think there's an awakening.
I was going through my Facebook this morning and I saw a post I completely forgot about like 4 or 5 months ago. The only thing flat earthers have to fear is fear itself. So I was joking about flat earthers just a few months ago. So
yeah. But the thing is, when you state your opinion in public, you kind of get locked into that paradigm, because it's hard to retract from a position when you are attacking people and calling them names and so forth. So even maybe most start their attacking or ridicule of the flat earth in ignorance, but when they start to learn, they can't retract from that.
Yeah, when I was questioning flat earth initially, I had a guy that's a scientist that's works at Oak Ridge National Lab. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that here locally, and he's into optics. And he was just telling me, you don't understand science. And then he threw me a computer program that he showed on how, or the cuspucular, or that, I can't even say the word. Cuspucular, not perspective, but
All right.
rays. And I'm going like, well, that explains the light coming at your eyes. But I said, how do you explain the light hitting the ocean or the water? That doesn't explain it. And he never responded. But then at points he would say, well, they're making good points. Then there's things that we're doing now. Like, I wish I could go back and say, look, what about this observation? What do you think? Because he's an optics guy. He would be the perfect person to ask a lot of these questions to. But he unfriended me on Facebook. So we're no longer friends. I'm going like, crap far, But because of my perspective of even just questioning it, he just left me, the friendship was gone. And I'm going like, but he would have been a good person bringing on this discussion. Because that's what he does. He understands optics, So,
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I was attacked.
He understood it so well that he couldn't afford to be your friend anymore, because he understands that what you're saying was right, and he can't be wrong. So he said, "Nope, I'm cutting this off. I can't be friends with this guy anymore."
Well, I brought up the shadow stick experiment. It's like, look, I said, doesn't light bend in a different medium? So wouldn't that throw off that stick observation? Because if it's coming at a certain angle going through a different medium, that would throw the angle off. I was like, and I brought that up to him. I was like, so how can he really determine the circumference of the Earth if the angle's thrown off even slightly? Because that would throw off your measurement, And he didn't. All that wasn't enough to, that was minor. They all compensated for that. And he never explained how they compensated for it.
No, and the funny part is that they do accept and accept that the sun is at an apparent position. When it rises, it's not its actual position. So how can they ever measure anything?
Exactly. If it's an apparent position, how can you truly measure its true position?
Yeah, exactly.
How can if you can't measure its true position, how can you truly use that as a measurement to determine the
And they use that against us.
Right.
Well, they presuppose an actual position, and they only have angular relations.
Yeah.
That's the one. That's the one thing they really do have: the angular relations in relation to the position on the Earth.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's all they have, and you can't extrapolate physical, literal locations from that. You can potentially deduce it, but you can't prove it.
But they can when it suits them. But when we use that
and they
argument, it's like you're crazy. But okay, I understand. It's like a 100-year or brainwashing method they have used, and it's gonna take time, obviously.
How did it came out? Wasn't Matt Powerland the first?
Yeah, I have to give credit to Matt. He was the one. What?
Was he the first one? Like in our recent history, like decade?
No.
I don't know.
Not in our history. We had the actual, what is it called now? Flat Earth Society.
Yeah, I know we had that since a long time ago. Like the upward accelerating one that explains gravity this way.
Yeah, but
since the 70s.
It has been hijacked the last 5 years or so. Before that, you had this guy that had this small community of his, and all his stuff got burnt up. And so forth. And I don't know what happened to him, if he was killed or something. But he wrote the book and all that. But now it was the original Flat Earth Society.
Well, I think it was a combination for me. Obviously, it was Mark Sargent, and then I think Mark Sargent led me to Eric DeBay, and then Eric DeBay or actually, no, Mark probably was Matt Powerland. I think probably what happened. I think the trigger point was Mark posted his stuff, and I think all those are on YouTube, and then I think kind of created a feedback loop within that, and I think that kind of helped people begin to question, because you hear a lot. Like, I saw this flat Earth video on my recommendations, and I think that started the process. I think that's what did it. I don't know if there's any one person that can attribute to anything. I think it was probably a mixture of things.
Well, the first video I saw was with Matt Powerland. His painting or picture stand-up comedy thing.
But the sad thing about
but that just suited my previous view of things, because I came from understanding the scheme of moon landings, Mars landings, the way they supposedly found out about galaxies and things. It was quite a stupid, unlogical way they present things. And then when I stumbled upon the flat Earth, it was like, oh, of course. What else?
It's really interesting. I give it like 5 more years until it pushes the gulp out of the way. It will become the self-evident truth around the world. I think it's less than 5 years.
We're gonna reach a critical mass, and
will create its own gravity.
yeah. It's like Mark Sargent talks about the 100 monkey theory.
Yeah, on the island.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Just nonsense. 100 monkey effects, just made up nonsense. It's not real.
Yeah, but anyway, it's basically it's right, because when you reach a critical mass, people are gonna start to accept things in a different way than today. So I don't claim that it's like a superficial thing where people send brainwaves to each other like that. It's not like that. But it's like the behind the curve thing. It's gonna be more socially acceptable, and people are gonna dare to look at it, and
yeah, you're right.
That's the way things go. It's no way out of this.
I like to assess the stages of loss that people are at, the globe heads that we talk to. So you mentioned wide-held acceptance. Well, acceptance is the stage 5, but I like to sort of figure out what stage they're at. Not you go back a couple of years, and it was obviously they fight it, don't they? They're at the fighting stage, denial.
Yeah, but we can quite easily define where they are. Anger, right? It's always anger they respond with. What step is that?
That's the first step, I think.
Yeah, so we are at the first step generally.
Well, the only thing I was like, I know this is going to sound funny, but just don't bear with me on my example. But my daughter loves the movie Trolls. I don't know if Nathan's had to watch it a few times with his or not. But
me too.
But there's a scene in the movie at the end of the movie where the trolls appear, and they literally change the Bergen's mentality about what makes them happy. As I was sitting there watching this, it's like there's this radical shift in consciousness in the Bergens, because they had to realize that happiness is not found in eating a troll. It's actually found in themselves, And I thought to myself, you know what? There would not be that massive turnaround in one turn. There's always going to be a pocket of people, probably even more than half the population at least, would still think eating a troll is the only way to happiness. There would not be this 100% turnaround in a society.
Of course not.
I think that's kind of what you're going to see no matter what. There's always going to be that certain percentage that's going to still accept the globe and accept everything, and not...
Probably 1/3.
What's that?
Probably 1/3.
probably 1/3 will still believe. You said, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
To me or
Has some
Erwin?
serious references. Yeah. No, but that's what I think. I think 1/3 will keep on believing, no matter what.
Well, I wonder. We're also authority-driven anyway right now. So if the authorities comes out and tells one thing, I think we're gonna reach a 90% acceptance.
One thing you're going to see. One thing you're going to see. Oh, I'm sorry. I keep talking over somebody. I'm sorry. One thing you're going to see. Go ahead. Get your thought out. Go ahead. I'll stop.
They'll have to at some point. They'll have to come out and say something. That's it.
Well, the problem with authority, though, I say this a lot. The authority cannot admit wrong. They can't.
No.
No matter what, they can never admit that they made a mistake. They can never admit that they, because what that would do, the moment you admit that they've done anything. Lily, hang on, Lily, I'm bringing tea. She's getting mad. She kept saying she heard me say trolls, and now she wants trolls. But they can't admit it because that undermines their authority. Because if they're wrong at any point, how can you question anything?
Yeah. And then it's a full circle to why we are here right now.
Yeah.
Their will for control and power.
But like Paul said earlier, the vaccines thing going on, like the 9/11 thing, it's on all fronts. So
I mean, if you discover, like the Center for Disease Control is one, it's here in the U.S. is control all the vaccines and control of disease. If they admit at any point that they did anything fraudulent, how can you trust anything that they do from there on out?
yeah,
So they can't.
Oh, and their ship.
Yeah, the standard position is never concede, never apologise, never admit liability. So that will
until
always
proven guilty.
Until you can pile it up onto one fall guy.
Yeah.
That would exempt the rest. Until they can find a way to do that.
Oh yeah, you
Then
always
they'll
need a
damn
good
well
scapegoat.
try.
Yeah, definitely.
Relieve the pressure.
I just want to go through the 5 stages. So I just want to attribute to some of them, if you're willing, people on the panel, to go through them with me, so you can give examples as well. But I'll go through them one by one. So the first stage is denial, and I would see denial stage 1 as average Joe Normal comes across a flat Earth video and goes, "Nah, can't possibly be." Anybody got any other examples? Globehead specific, of course.
Well, I've been thinking about what would happen if NASA or governments or whatever would actually officially admit that these things were not real. I think that, we would all be amazed, especially flat earthers, as wow, they actually did it. But there's still going to be a giant swath of people that are going to be butthurt, literally, by their globe being taken away from them, and they're gonna believe that NASA is lying to them, like they're being propagandized. They're not gonna actually see through the lie. They're gonna say, no, NASA suddenly is denying space to us.
Yeah.
Why are we being cut off?
Exactly.
And they are going to want to replace them with the priest that will tell them it's a ball again.
Don't take my ball.
Perfect example, Arwin. So yes, that would be definitely a good example of stage 1 denial, even with a future connotation of what might be to come. Next stage is anger, and I'm sure we can all think of a few fight the flat Earth examples of this.
Like every day.
Yeah, I'm from the show.
But
I'm sorry.
that's why I keep on saying, I think that no matter what, 1/3 of the world is always going to stay religious about the ball. And if that religion is not being complied with, then they will simply distrust it. And it could even get any crazier, and that is that NASA could start up grassroots all over again, even if it was completely removed. Then those ballers would start to create a NASA from scratch just to fill the void. They will become their own priesthoods based on presuppositions to try and do it again.
Absolutely.
It's that
You
powerful.
know,
If the paradigm changes completely at the point that at the point that the paradigm changes, I think you're absolutely correct, Darwin. You'll basically have a situation where somebody, a charlatan, similar to the charlatans we currently have now, will see an opening, an opportunity, and say, well, here's another opportunity to indoctrinate people with something that they already understand implicitly, even if they've been told otherwise.
Yeah, and what they're desperate for. Also.
but they ain't gonna do it with our tax money anymore. They have to fund it themselves.
Well, that's not going to be that hard.
I'm talking
this age.
So let them do that if they want to. As long as they don't force
Arwen's
me
talking
along
about
with that shit.
Arwen's talking about individuals that just fill the void. So let's say, for the sake of argument, news at 10 tonight says that the Earth is flat, and then suddenly, well, not suddenly, over the course of time, you would see people who are opportunists that say, well, there's still going to be people out there that want to believe this, and potentially I can bleed those people dry, like any other religion would do.
Yeah, I see that.
All right, let's move on. So stage 3, and I've got a great example of this, is bargaining. So we've got Nick L, formerly Nick L, in the comments, who's currently going around saying $1,000 to anybody who can graffiti my name on the dome. You go, oh yeah, bargaining stage, excellent.
Isn't Jose there? Jose?
No, he dropped a while back.
He's mad at me. I'm boring and I killed him.
Oh, I see. Is Jose at the bargaining stage? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
It seems like it. Yeah. Not just he is trying to negotiate. Like can I just I'll just admit that I believe it's a ball and I don't have any proof. So can we still keep the discussion going?
I don't even think he's in the bargaining stage. I think he's still in denial. Because for him to say in the same hour, almost the same breath, like, oh, I don't believe in that water bending, that's childish. But yes, I believe the Earth is a ball. So yeah, I don't know how he works that out in his brain, but
I've got to agree with Chocolate. I think Jose's in the denial stage. Definitely denial stage. I would agree with you, Chocolate.
A little bit of both, I think.
Yeah, he's in the middle.
And bargaining on top of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, moving swiftly on, we've got stage 4, depression. And I would say that somebody who's displaying these characteristics is Conspiracy Cats, describing how he's losing sleep, contemplating how everybody might have lied to him.
Absolutely. Yeah. 95% of the Globers are at that stage, I think. The paid ones, not the ordinary people.
Any more? If not, I'll move on to the last stage.
Last stage, please.
The final stage is stage 5, where everybody breathes out and gets to the acceptance. I'll read the one paragraph from this Psychology Today article. Finally, this is the phase in which we are able to make peace with the loss.
Peace with the loss.
And begin to see the gains.
Bye, globe. It was fun while it lasted. Space is fake. Yeah, I'm at the acceptance stage.
Yes.
No, not me.
I already had a nice funeral and a wake for the globe in my head, so that's gone.
No, I just want the globe to live on in science fiction. It's too beautiful to completely have it erased.
Oh, but you can just replace it with an endless flat plane.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Still have to get some more information.
There's something a bit less magical about an X-wing fighter only travelling across one direction. You know, in other words, if space is just out, which might well be the case. You know, I don't know, but it might well be the case that what you're saying is instead of space expanding in infinite directions, it's just the horizon never ends. But then, like I say, your X-wing fighter, it's not quite as exciting, is it?
Really? I thought that actually the land-based battles Like in Star Wars 5
It's
on Hoth, the land-based battles were actually the most exciting ones. Although, yeah, the big space stuff is of course very impressive, but I don't think, I don't see the problem.
but
Yeah,
but hasn't all the fights been
space is so
above
infinite. I'm sorry,
planets?
guys.
Yeah, it is.
Haven't all the fights been above planets? Never in just a vacuum of space.
Guys, can I very
So
fact about Star Wars? All the Star Wars movies were shot on the flat Earth.
duh.
Yeah, that's true. But obviously, the modelling that they did was in a 3D space in terms of what they're trying to represent as well. It's presenting 3D space, isn't it? It's not representing a plane in the slightest.
Yeah. No, it's just I had a friend of mine, a female, that thought that Avatar was real, based on a real story. That's like it's not a joke. That's what she thought.
Hey Nathan, I got a question for you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay, Nathan? You there?
Yeah, we hear you, Paul.
Have you read your children the Chronicles of Narnia? I know you brought it up multiple times. Have you read those stories to your children, or gone through them?
Unfortunately,
Too young.
The overriding noise of my child meant I didn't hear what you said. Say it again.
You've used Narnia a lot in your illustrations. Have you actually read through the Chronicles of Narnia to your children? Not the TV version, but the actual book version or audio version.
No, although when I was a child, I really enjoyed the Chronicles of Narnia. She's not old enough to even slightly understand any of the concepts. She's not at that stage. She's only 2. But yes, in time, I would definitely read Narnia to her, if that's what you're asking.
You should do it even now just for yourself, because I actually read them all. And I think C.S. Lewis might have been a flat earther, because in the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, he actually talks about what they're doing on that voyage. They're actually going, I think, and they actually trying to find Aslan's country. And they literally sail so far that they actually hit a wall. And the stars are actually not, they're actually end up being real people. And then in the Magician's Nephew, they travel between worlds, and it also talks about the creation of Narnia. And they have the idea of puddles, which we've heard that before. But even in that, there's some of the whole concepts through the whole book seems to be a flat Earth type cosmology. Narnia seems to be a flat Earth cosmology, and even when you get into what is it, the last battle, when they go through into the barn, and they enter into what would be considered heaven at that point. It's still virtually a flat Earth kind of cosmology. Of course, the larger inside the smaller, which you get from Doctor Who, or large inside the small. But anyway, you should go back and revisit them, because you'll be surprised. I was surprised when I got into flat Earth and I started thinking back over the Chronicles of Narnia. Like, wow, I think he might have been a flat Earther, C.S. Lewis. So.
What else has C.S. Lewis written? It's not Alice in Wonderland, is it?
Not Alice in Wonderland, Chronicles of Narnia. C.S. Lewis wrote Chronicles of Narnia.
Just thinking, what else has he written? Who wrote what? I'm just trying to rack my brains for who did write Alice in Wonderland, because it immediately springs to mind.
There was he did write a space trilogy that he has, and I forget what they're called now. I tried listening to him, which makes me think some of that was looking at heliocentrism, but the Chronicles of Narnia seem to be flat Earth related. So, but he did write space trilogies or something.
It's like once you see it, you start to see it everywhere. I think like the dome and the Homer Simpson, the L. Simpsons, whatever. You guys kind of start to see the
Thanks a lot.
messages everywhere.
I'll see you probably tomorrow or the next day. So have fun and bye-bye.
It's
bye.
Thank you very much. Pleasure having you. So it's C.S. Lewis that wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, and it's Lewis Carroll that wrote Alice in Wonderland, or at least that was his pseudonym. That's why I'm getting confused. My bad.
Yeah.
That's okay.
We forgive you.
I had to look it up.
Here's an American talking about an English author. An English person doesn't know what's going on. That's pretty funny.
I must admit, the Narnia comparison though, that was off the top of my head. I don't know why Narnia sprang in, but it did. And now you've mentioned it, we have watched some of the Disney movies with the various. I think one of them is actually called The Chronicles of Narnia, as opposed to The Lion and Witch and the Wardrobe. But yeah, so there are certain things that I've played her, if you like, but certainly not read the books to her.
Yeah, the books, the movies they line up somewhat, but they don't line up perfectly. They change things around, which I didn't like in the movies, but obviously there's that Hollywood license that they do. Like in the movie version of the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, or no, it was Voyage of the Dawn Treader. They never reach that wall, but actually in the book, they sail and they actually hit the wall, and they get out and walk along the side of the wall in the book. You know, where in the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, they didn't do that. They just sailed until they went to this beautiful land and the beautiful ocean, and that was it. You know,
that was gonna be too visually obvious to people,
right?
Especially in times like this. How old is that movie?
I think they came out I think the first one came out in. I'd have to look it up. Probably 2010, maybe. I think Wardrobe came out 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, they're relatively recent.
Yeah. So, can we return to the heliocentric model?
What heliocentric model?
I'm good, thanks.
The official one.
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks. I'm good on the flat plane. You can return to it if you want, like Jose.
No, but it's so obviously false. It's like it can only have been created, fabricated as a deception from the very beginning. Because if we have, right now, we look at the moon, we see it in the screen. The part of the moon that first rises above the horizon in the east should also set first when it sets in the west. So the moon should set upside down relative to when it rises. And that thing is so obviously false. And imagine Copernicus thinking about the heliocentric model with a moon that apparently doesn't spin, rotate, and turn in any direction. He would immediately see that the moon doesn't follow that narrative. The moon is always facing like inwards towards the center of the earth. No matter if you stand south of it because it's upside down, only because you're standing and looking at it in a different perspective. But on a ball, if you stand facing east and the moon rises at the horizon, the part that first rises above the horizon should obviously also set first. And anyone can go out any night or almost day and follow the moon and see that that never happens.
Yeah, I totally agree. We covered this actually on, I don't know if it was this show, at the beginning of this show or the show that went before it. I can't remember, but Paula came on and explained exactly that. And yeah, I completely agree. It shouldn't represent the way it does.
Because I took it up yesterday because I searched everywhere for anyone addressing this issue, but I haven't seen it. And this thing dawned upon me just a few months ago. It took me like 4 or 5 years of observation of the moon and not connecting it with what the heliocentric model is telling us, because there is a huge disconnection there. We see like a side view of the Earth and the moon but we never get an explanation how things would actually look like in that model. What we are shown is the actual model then, instead.
Can I just speak to the first assertion you made, which is to say that they must know and therefore deceiving us? It's going back quite a long...
It's like obvious. Because if you are thinking about the helium...
Bear with me.
Sorry.
So I had this exact conversation with Mark Sargent, probably going back a couple of years. It was just before I did the interview with Vice Media. And the discussion kind of went as follows, which is to say that before they actually had the capabilities of going up as high as they claimed they have gone, they couldn't have known because they didn't go up that high. So it might have been, well, the case that prior to the inception of NASA, or JPL, you've got a situation where they may have well still believed it. In other words, that the rhetoric had just become so heavily ingrained, and the original, even if they were deceiving, all the original people have all long gone. You're just left with the rhetoric ingrained in the entire populace. But until they get to the point where they actually claim to be looking down on what they can see, it might be the case that they genuinely didn't know. But at the point that they did, that's when they have the biggest deception of all kind, with things like NASA coming into play in the 60s, basically.
Yeah, but I can't kind of accept that, because if you're drawing up a model, you must create a model like you have to get it to work before you present it as a theory. And if the moon doesn't apply to that, then you can't present it as a theory.
Yeah, but once it's presented as a theory, and then you finally have the capability of sending somebody up there to actually see what you've already presented to the world, then you can't be wrong at that point.
Obviously
so
not. But yeah. you had to question it already from the beginning. Because if you draw up a heliocentric model, then the supposedly static moon that doesn't appear to spin or rotate or turn, that always faces us in the same way, when it rises in the east, it should just keep, like if you're holding a plate before your hands and you hold that plate and you rise it above your head, and then do some acrobatics and you put it back behind your back, it should be upside down. And if you can't get that to work, how could they present this model?
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making today's after show possible. And also a massive thank you to all of the audience in Nathan Oakley 1980 for tuning in and hopefully sharing this premiering stream. If you'd like to keep yourself amused after the show has ended, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Community Forum.
Bye, bye, bye.
Be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!